Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name's Emma. Beside me is my husband Ash and our children Minky, Dave, Cookie and Tiny Teabag. This is my identical twin sister Sooz. We speak a lot about her and we vlog our daily lives here. Thank you for joining us. I just remembered something else. You know, these vlogs are a little bit mismatched and I hope you understand why. But I need to talk to you about what happened after the hospice in January. I also need to tell you about the mistake that happened in hospital that I said I couldn't talk about, but the investigation's been completed now. And I'm just awaiting the letter for that. So to go back to the beginning, when Sooz was in the hospice in January, excuse me, after about five or 6 weeks of being in there, I can't remember the exact date. Normally, you know, as a lot of you did comment, once you and people thought she was just in there for respite. She wasn't. She was in there on basically end of life care. But once you sort of go over 3 weeks in a hospice, you're right, they do want you out of there. So let me just sit up. So at that point, we'd had a few haters and trolls and things, so we kept it private and quiet as to the fact that we did have to move out of the hospice. As you know, Susie's house wasn't suitable for her to go back to because they had no hot running water. The only time you'd get the hot water is if you had the fires on, which heated the water, or you'd put the immersion heaters on, which would cost £20, £30, £40 a day because Susie would need constant hot water. So also we couldn't fit a hospital bed in there in any of the rooms. It's a tiny little higgledy-piggledy dormer bungalow. The bedrooms are in the roof, so the hospital bed couldn't fit in, plus the bathroom was too small to be able to care for Susie properly. So it was just not possible for her to go back home. It wasn't possible for her to come to me because it was so far away from Jason. Plus I don't have an ensuite or a bathroom downstairs, and it would have meant I would have needed to get a bathroom plumbed in downstairs and the hospital bed in the living room. So at that point, the hospice then sort of uploads all of Susie's details to some sort of database where then all the sort of care facilities around the area will then see if they can cater for Susie's needs and accommodate her in their care home or nursing home or whatever it may be. So Susie's details went out. I think 2 people came to interview us at the hospice and immediately just looked at Sooz and said, there's no way that we can cater for your needs in our care home. You know, all the nephrostomies, the like everything that was going on with Sooz, they couldn't cater. Plus the nurse to patient ratio was too low. And then we had one come out that said they could cater for her. So I went to have a look round. I came back to Sooz and I said, it's a little bit like a school trip, like Hogwarts. You know, big old eccentric building with a couple of extensions on it and some gardens outside. And she said if I was happy with it, then she would be happy with it. So they did the room as close to the hospice and Susie's bedroom as we could get it, put up shelves. They changed the sink to make it bigger to be able to get a bidet bottle in from where she could reach from the toilet to the sink. They got rails put in and we went there. So to protect Sooz, I didn't let on only to a select few or the people that were coming to visit Sooz, because there are some weird ones of you about out there that like to spread your negative, weird hate. You don't frighten me. You certainly didn't frighten Sooz. But I didn't want the staff or the places where we were to be getting any weird behaviour from some of your little creeps. So anyway, we went there, and that's where we spent the last however long, March to May, I think it was March, with the odd hospital stay and nephrostomy change and stent and catheter change hospital visit in between. And it was after we got into the hospital again for the last few days is when I managed to get the palliative care team to get Susie back into the hospice for the last small part of her life. So that was that. So I'm sorry for keeping it from you, but I had to protect Sooz and I had to protect everybody else, and I wasn't going to let everyone know where we were. The mistake that was in hospital happened after Dad passed away on the Friday. We were in resus, and then we went up to the ward for Susie's fluids to get the potassium level lower and something to do with the calcium, ready for her nephrostomy change and urinary catheter change on the Monday. We'd actually been allowed home on the Saturday and then got called back into hospital for a blood transfusion, which was annoying. Again, the hospital not getting the messages straight and allowing us to go home when they should have just let us stay and have this blood transfusion ready for Susie's operation on the Monday. And while we were there, they obviously take all the controlled drugs off us. So I have them all in a bag and they lock it away in their med room. I think we were on ward 26 or ward 27, room 26. And or ward 26, room 27, one or the other. And Susie asked for some of her painkillers, her oxycodone. I've got massive PTSD from what happened next. So 2 nurses have to sign off these controlled drugs. So they went out, they got our oxycodone. We were absolutely exhausted from the shock of hearing Dad had passed away to everything else that Susie was going through, and no sleep in the hospital from the Friday to the Sunday, travelling back and forward from the hospital to the nursing home. We were exhausted. And the 2 nurses came back into the room and I saw these 2 syringes come over my shoulder. And I'm going to show you the size difference. Okay, so Susie's normal, let me just get back into bed. Susie's normal syringe for her oxycodone is this tiny little one. Okay, 2.5 to 3 mil of oxycodone in that. That's what she has, 2.5 to 3, depending on how much she wanted at that point. It's very, very small, about as big as my little finger. I saw 2 of these come over my shoulder full of orange liquid. Okay. I'm not going to be able to do this, am I? That's the size difference. And I just went, said, what's that? And they went, it's her oxycodone. And I said, that's not right. If you're bringing 2 massive syringes like that to me, the liquid should be clear. It's orange for a reason. It's a warning colour. And I said, you've got it wrong. That can't be right. And Susie, just with her eyes shut, she just held her hand out and she went, oh, I said, Emma, it's all right. And I said, no. I said, get your hand away. And I was just shaking so much. And I said, you've got it wrong. I said, you'll kill her. And they held the 2 big syringes and they went, I don't think that'll kill her. I said, it will. You've got it wrong. You've got it wrong. I said, take me outside to that med room now and show me the bottle that you've drawn that liquid up from. Take me now and show me. And it just so happened that the matron of the whole hospital that Sunday was working in an office 2 doors down, and she heard the commotion, and quite rightly she just hung back. She didn't let them know that she was there. I didn't know she was there, and she listened. As I followed them out of the room to go to the med room, she followed on behind. As I got into that med room and I saw the little tiny bottle of Sooz's that they'd picked up, that they'd pulled that liquid out from, I just lost it. I nearly lost my knees and fell to the floor. And I said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You got it wrong, you got it wrong. And I had a hand on my shoulder from the matron. And all she kept saying was, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You were right. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And the 2 nurses, I don't know what they were thinking. They hadn't read the bottle. They hadn't looked at Susie's medication. And they said to me, oh, we only use 1 milligram per 10 mil in hospital. I said, but you weren't using yours. You were using hers. So they'd drawn up 300 milligrams of oxycodone instead of 3. That's 30 mil instead of 3, which is no question about it, a fatal overdose. So if I hadn't have been there, that would have been Susie's last day, because no question she'd have died after a massive overdose like that. It wasn't just a mil too much. It was 27 mils too much. It wasn't just a decimal point in the wrong place. It was... I'll never get over that. And the matron made it clear to them that Susie would have lost her life that day. I would have lost my life that day, because I never would have forgiven myself for being either out the room or gone to get a drink or not au fait with her meds that I knew that it was wrong, or I haven't had the courage to stand up and say something, because they'd have given it to her. She made it clear that they both would have lost their registrations and they'd have been up on a manslaughter charge for getting it wrong. So matron called me yesterday, which was the 22nd of May, said her investigation, the hospital's investigation's all complete and finished, and that they've undergone a severe talking to. They've been retrained, as has everyone involved, regarding controlled medications, which is baffling to me, because the first thing you would do as a nurse taking care of people is check the medication you're giving, that it's for that person, it's correct, the dosage is correct, and then the second person would sign that off and also check it, and then I would check it again, and they just didn't, which is just overwhelming to me. I can't believe the mistake that was made. There were more mistakes made, nothing along the gravity of that. And one day I'll talk about that. They've urged me that I need to put in a PALS complaint regarding that as well. And at some point when I'm strong enough. Matron said to me, you need the time to take to heal with your family before you start getting into the nitty gritty of all that. I must say the PALS complaint form I was terrified about, but it's not the NHS, so it's separate. So they make it easy for you. I thought if it was like the NHS that were doing it, they would make it so hard for you that you would just not have the energy to do it. But the PALS complaints form is extremely easy to fill out. So I'd urge you to have a look if you were worried about that. Because we need people to learn from these mistakes. They can not happen again. So that, yeah, there's a few things that happened with Mum and Sooz that I need to log, other things that had happened that I need to log down. So that's a little bit of history as to what happened, where me and Sooz were staying. Again, I lived with her the whole time, whether it was in the nursing home, the hospice, or the hospital. And that's the update on the near catastrophic error that those 2 nurses made that day. And just thank goodness that I was there to stop it. Because I never would have got over that if I hadn't have been there. And again, I've got all of you to thank. You saved her life that day. Because if I hadn't have been afforded the opportunity to stay with her 24/7, I wouldn't have been there to notice it. So thank you so much. So now I've given my darling Jo a call to see if she wants to meet up, because she's done so much for me, Mum and Sooz and Terry. And she also needs looking after. You know, she saw a lot of trauma those last few days. So I've asked her if she wants to meet up for a little coffee or a cup of tea or something. So I'm gonna go do that. But again, bear with me. So much has happened. Things will get back to some sort of normal, whatever that will be. And I'm just going to take you along with me, like I always have. Keep you in my pocket.
So come away with me, let's break free. We could fall asleep where the land and ocean meet. Wake up to the sounds of no one around.